way, chickens!
From the very first moment I saw the Wither Storm in Minecraft Story Mode, I immediately became obsessed with it. The way this thing brings this creepy element of no matter how far you run, it will always catch up to you. It's essentially the Eldritch Horror version of the Immortality Snail scenario that was popular on the internet there for a little while. Even to this day, the Wither Storm is still one of my favorite monsters in fiction. So I decided to ask the question, what would have happened if the Wither Storm was put into some of my favorite series? And thus begins, what if the Wither Storm was in Songs of War? Now this is episode 1 of this series. Mainly what I'm kind of shooting for here is this is kind of going to be trying to be similar like CK's rewrite videos, but instead of it being a rewrite video, it's, well, obviously just a script idea for the What If series that's coming out here very soon. Although soon can mean many things when it comes to Fallout Studios. But anyways, jokes aside, I always really like this idea of like wondering what would happen if the Wither Storm was in the Songs of War universe. Because like there's some characters that I think many people would wonder who would make it out. Would the Wither Storm actually end up winning and defeating and just destroying everything? Or would the characters end up winning? Well, this is what the series is trying to entail. Depending on how many views and likes this gets is going to determine whether or not I continue with these kinds of series. Because definitely, I do have more planned than just the Wither Storm. I do have other what-if scenarios that I know is not going to be animated by Fallout, but would still be nice to have, you know, just a little bit of an idea, just to give people an idea of what could be if it was animated. But I guess there's a really big glaring question here as to the biggest problem with this scenario. The lore. So the Songs of War universe does kind of leave a lot of things open-ended. And the main problem here is being the command block. So the command block isn't in Songs of War, or at least not that we know of, and it's, you know, never really a thing that's ever brought up. So really what I'm trying to do here is, we're gonna pretend that in this universe, the command block does exist. It's just this ancient relic that's, you know, existing there. And I know this is a little bit of a stretch because I know some people want things to be as lore accurate as possible. And trust me, I'm going to try to keep things as lore accurate as possible, but I am also trying to keep things as lore accurate to the Wither Storm as I possibly can. Because the way I see it, there's things like, you know, the character from the Sword of Infinity series, who wielded the Sword of Infinity, was in Songs of War. Now, that kind of implies that there is connection to other Squared Media projects, which makes sense. There's other characters and cameos. So it is theoretically possible that there could be a universe where the command block is existing. And I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way because I know that was really the biggest thing with this is, okay, how's the command block going to work? Because obviously in Minecraft Story Mode, the command block is only broken with those enchanted command block books. But don't worry, I do have a plan. I do have a plan for how things could work. So with that being said, let's just get started. Now remember, this is episode 1 of a multi-part series, maybe, depending on how popular this gets. Zon Valtaris was a respected leader, not just for his craft and necromancy, but for his unnatural intelligence as well. Zon was a calculated Ardoni, who always thought ahead and carried out his plans with patience. While deep in the caverns of Mount Tempest, one of the necromancers discovered an ancient artifact that was said to be a myth. Some say some unknown entity created it. Others say it was where the universe itself came from. The only thing that was known was its name, the command block. In this story, I decided to basically swap the undead dragon from CK's rewrites and kind of replace it with a command block. So pretty much all the things in the CK rewrite videos is going to be ending up, you know, the dragon is going to be the Wither Storm in this scenario. So obviously, those of you that has seen the CK rewrite videos are probably going to have an understanding of where this is going to be going. And don't worry, it's going to get so good. Anyways, that out of the way, just a random side note here. I will be taking inspiration from the rewrite videos. Before the necromancers launched their attack on Philora, Zahn began testing the command block's abilities on many things, including the undead. Learning of its mysterious power, he wanted to know what he could do with this ancient item. Most trials were failures, and in every trial he ran, the command block did not always work the way Zahn had intended. However, he accidentally discovered that it could revive undead, even reverting them back into humans. Once he discovered this, the Necrolord had an idea. Taking one of the last remaining corpses of a dead wither that was left behind after the Great War, Zahn Valtaris wanted to see if he could revive a wither to use against Feldon. If he could control a wither with the command block, then theoretically, he could control anything. He was uncertain if this would work on a wither, so he decided that he would only try this if things did not go according to plan. As the Necrolord would soon find out, things would definitely not go the way anyone had expected. In this timeline, everything also played out the same. Everything else played out the same. Captain Kyoshi is killed and Feldon falls. However, things change when Pythis shows up. Zahn was surprised to see the Nether return to the overworld. Pythis made it very clear that he had no use for the necromancers, as Pythis is a power-hungry glut who wants absolutely no one standing in his way of getting what he wants. However, unfortunately for Pythis in this universe, no one would be getting what they wanted. Zahn, in this timeline, retreats and orders his men to attach the command block to the dead wither in hopes of being able to potentially control some of the Nether's forces and push the Nether back. The Angel of Death flies and catches up to Zahn and begins fighting him. Zahn, having been exhausted from fighting Captain Kyoshi earlier, loses to the Angel of Death, but just before that flying rat could finish him off, a supercharged wither skull hits the Angel of Death and causes a massive explosion, bigger than what a normal wither could cause. Pythis comes over to see what the trouble is, as the wither storm flies high into the sky, slowly starting to absorb blocks. Pythis and the other withers try to control it. However, this thing has a mind of its own, and takes out the other withers with one hit. Pythis jumps towards it, swinging his axe, hitting the command block directly. This, of course, does nothing, and Pythis launches back down to the ground, utterly shocked. "That's impossible," Pythis shouts, afraid for the first time in his life.
You should have gone for the head.
I should have gone for the head, buddy. The wither storm starts absorbing more blocks, growing bigger and bigger by the second. Pythis and more Nether troops surround it, attempting to take down the new wither beast. They fight and fight, but once the wither storm gets its main head, it covers up the command block and activates a tractor beam that starts easily sucking up the last Nether forces into its mouth. Pythis orders his troops to go back through the portal, forcing them to flee, as he knew what was being unleashed was far stronger than he could ever be. However, before Pythis jumped through the portal, the wither storm destroyed the Nether portal that Pythis was heading to in order to retreat, sucking Pythis up with its tractor beam. Not eating Pythis, but absorbing him. Just like that, one of the strongest beings in the Songs of War universe has fallen victim to the unstoppable beast. The Nether in this timeline is unable to invade the kingdoms as the Witherstorm completely stops their advance. The Witherstorm stays in Feldon, growing bigger and bigger, before finally it bursts through the treetops. 5 tentacles and 3 heads, shining 3 purple tractor beams in any direction it wants to look. This thing wants only one thing: to eat all of Ardonia. Lucan and Nika see the chaos unfolding and make a run for it, jumping into the river and fleeing for their life. As they make it to the other side of the river, they see the Witherstorm floating above Feldon, shooting wither skulls and absorbing everything. "What is that thing?" Nika says with a chill in her voice. "Something that no kingdom will force me to investigate, I know that much," Lucan says while the Witherstorm turns towards them. "I think it sees us," Lucan says with fear in his tone. Nika and Lucan immediately run into the forest as the Witherstorm chases them down. While running, they discover one of the nether portals that the nether made to enter the overworld, unlit after the nether retreated. Lucan gets some flint and steel he got from a necromancer corpse and lights the portal. "Lucan, wait. I don't think this is a good idea," Nika yells as she questions if going to the nether really is safer than staying in the overworld. "Nika, this is the only..." Lucan begins to say before the wither storm whacks some trees down, revealing how close it had already gotten to them. Nika pushes Lucan into the portal, also causing Lucan to drop his flint and steel. Before he even has time to think, he gets sent into the nether. Alone. Just as Lucan lands on the other side of the portal deactivates again as it signals the destruction of the overworld portal. "Nika!" Lucan yells at the empty portal. Lucan looks around as he sees a few nether forces investigating the loud yell that Lucan had made as a few wither skeletons charge towards him. Lucan just runs as this begins a quick montage of Lucan running throughout the nether. He's running from ghasts, skeletons, wither skeletons, and a few Netharans. Because remember, the nether, or the Songs of War world was made before the nether update. So in a lot of these montages, you're going to really get to see how empty the nether used to be back in the day. For those of you older Minecraft players, of course, you remember what the nether used to look like. So you can probably picture this very well. Lucan travels throughout the empty and barren wasteland of the Netherrealm. Eventually, Lucan ends up finding Nazgard, the black, hot, and menacing fortress of the powerful Netharans. Blazes roam about, wither skeletons at every perch, and every corner, and even a few withers floating about. Lucan notices the massive main nether portal. "Another portal. That is my ticket back," Lucan says as he tries to form a plan on how to sneak into the fortress and escape through the portal without being seen. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening in Felden and the Nether, the Death Singer began to head to Crown Peak, getting a lead as to where one of the Mobilium Prime songs could have been located. After he arrives to the address and barges through the door of Solomon's house, he demands to know the whereabouts of the Mobilium Prime. Solomon immediately hands over the Mobilium Prime, fearing for his life, as any sane person probably would, and hoping he can be spared for handing over a Prime song to the legendary Death Singer. Within minutes, the Tide Singer and Sen arrive to Solomon's house and quickly realize that the Death Singer has already acquired the Prime song. The Tide Singer and Death Singer fight once again, continuing this dance between two brothers. Achillean and Sen are sent flying out the window into the pool on Solomon's porch, as usual. The Death Singer levitates on pieces of glass using his Suporium Prime, saying his famous lines. "You were wrong about one thing. It is you who have no allies. Where is the Ender King? Are the kingdoms united and ready to fight? When was the last time the Ardoni clans wielded the Songs of War? I myself have reforged an alliance with the Nether. They are eager to reclaim the overworld. Then I will do what I must to stop you. You know I do not wish to kill you, Achillean. But if you refuse to surrender..." Ingressus begins to say this before a loud and menacing roar is heard off in the distance. The sky starts to darken as suddenly a chill blows through the air. The atmosphere changes, foreshadowing a dark enemy that will scar the world down to the bedrock. Ingressus floats a bit higher into the air to see something off in the distance approaching quickly. While Ingressus is distracted, Luna and Abigail land on the balcony and save Achillean and Sen as they also fly up into the air to see the impending doom approaching. "What is that thing?" Abigail says in a curious but frightened voice. "Let's not stick around to find out," Achillean says as Luna flies them off towards the other knights of Ardonia. Before they knew it, the storm was there. It immediately starts wreaking havoc, tearing apart buildings, launching them with its tentacles and absorbing them into its flesh. Skulls fly out of its mouth as it tries to destroy as much as possible. The storm sees Ingressus floating right in its line of sight as the storm moves its tractor beam towards him. The tractor beam hits Ingressus as suddenly he gets surprised at its strength. Ingressus tries to fight it, but he cannot escape the sheer strength of the Witherstorm. Ingressus begins to panic a bit as he gets closer and closer to its mouth, before he uses the Saporium Prime to rip off the roof of a building and lodge it into the Witherstorm's mouth, giving him an opportunity to stab his sword into the eye of the Witherstorm head. The tractor beam disengages as he falls towards the ground, using his Saporium song to break his fall. Achillean jumps off the dragon a ways away from Crown Peak and tries to evacuate as many people as he can, while Abigail and Sen gather the Knights of Ardonia so they can fall back and form a plan. The Witherstorm wreaks havoc on Crown Peak, destroying and absorbing everything in its sight. While the Knights retreat, Achillean is troubled, leaving people to die to the likes of that monster. However, deep down, he knows that there is not much else he or anyone else can do at this moment to save them. The events of Season 2 end with the Witherstorm decimating Crown Peak and growing even bigger, gaining 2 more and much larger tentacles on its back. The scene cuts as the Witherstorm lurks towards the retreating Voltaris, healing its tractor beam again, and it activates. And the last thing you see is the Witherstorm eyeing Ingressus. And that is the end of episode 1. So, if you guys like this idea and you want to see what I would think would happen next, feel free to like this video. Because like I said, depending on how many views and likes I get will be whether or not I continue this. And if this gets animated, oh, yeah, if this gets animated, my appreciation goes out to you. Because holy cow, this would be dope. Although, yeah, we'll see. And if you guys have any ideas for what you want to see happen in the future, I'm definitely going to take that into consideration. Because I actually have no idea how I want this to end yet. I've only wrote everything up to like the halfway point. So I'm actually still actively planning how I want this to end. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. Yeah, and any predictions, definitely as well. So yeah, we got Lucan in the Nether. We got the Knights of Ardonia retreating, as well as the Voltaris. And Pythus has been absorbed by the Witherstorm, completely halting the advance of the Nether. This is a crazy start to this insane idea that I had. Anyways, hopefully you all are having a good day. I myself have to get back to doing some college homework assignments, so it's probably going to be a while before part 2 comes out. I'm not going to have any official month set yet, but I'm thinking maybe sometime in the spring. I'm definitely going to try to get a part 2 out in the spring, if this video does well enough, of course. But yeah, feel free to subscribe if you want to see more of this. And yeah, thank you for watching if you made it to this point. So see you all later.